Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about junction object, how to create a junction object, and what are many-to-many relationships. When do we use many-to-many relationship? And I'll show you an example use case, an example, and guide you through how you can start thinking about when to create those junction objects in your org. Okay, so looking at the example that we looked at in the lookup and master detail video, and if you haven't looked at that, I highly recommend checking that out if you are not familiar with the one-to-many relationship concept. So in that example, we looked at employee and expense. So we said that there could be more than one expenses that an employee needs to submit, and if that's the case, then yes, this is one-to-many, and then you can figure out whether it's master detail or lookup. But let's say, what if there's a situation where multiple employees might need to be associated to a single expense? So what if the reverse is true too? What if it's not just one-to-many from employee to expense side, but what if also one expense can be associated to multiple employees? So the arrow will be something like this. So many-to-many. This is where you think, okay, well, if you just have two objects, you cannot relate them like that. You cannot have many-to-many in Salesforce directly without having a third junction object. And that's what we're going to look at. Another example is, which I'm going to use from Health Cloud or Health World, is let's say there's a doctor, contact one John Smith. John Smith works in two locations within the city, a midtown facility and a downtown facility. There's also another doctor, Mike Smith, who also works in two different locations, midtown and downtown. So you can see here, there are two contacts that are tied to the same facility, and also the reverse is true. One contact associated with two facilities. So we can see that this is many-to-many. We have blue and black arrows to denote that. So this looks like a many-to-many relationship. So let's look at how actually we can create it. So I have the facility object, and I have obviously the contact object stays out of the box. Now, I'll just open up the sales tab here. So if we just ended up creating, let's say if we just created a lookup relation on facility object to contact, that would not be enough. So that would just be one direction, one-to-many. What I mean is, let me go to that sales or any application here, doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get to the contacts tab. So we go to contact, and if there was one contact, pick a random contact. So if there was a contact, and now I want to associate this contact with one facility, and the reverse is true as well. So we know that there has to be another object that sits in between those two to kind of relate those to each other. Because imagine I just created, so if I go back to facility, and I want to say, okay, one contact, multiple facilities, great. I'll create a lookup relationship between them. So this is just to show why lookup will not work. I'm going to say contact, hit next, same thing, next, visible. So we can see we have facilities related list, and I can create a new facility, associate that facility with this contact, and that's it. That's all I can do here. If I go to the facility, it has a lookup to the contact, but we don't. What if I need to create another contact and associate to the same facility, the same test facility, not a different record, but the same exact record? How do I do that? I can't do it without a second object. So if I go to contact, I can't relate that. So we know that we need a separate object to establish that many-to-many relationship. So now the way you'll create a junction object is just like how you create any object, really. So the best practice to create a junction object is actually using the toParent object. In our example, we have two objects, contact and facility, and we are really trying to associate contact and facility together. So we can say contact facility, and we can get rid of the dash. So contact facilities, and usually I see a lot of times using auto number for junction records because they're kind of auto created, and then you can just relate them together. Or we can keep the text for this video, but usually they use auto number so that you can relate them and you don't need to worry about populating that name. And usually I've also seen that we don't really add a tab for a junction object in most cases, because usually you'll add a junction object only by using the related list object, related list on your object page. So you don't really need a tab for junction object in most cases. For this scenario, I'm going to leave it alone. Now we got our object, so let's go back to our Lucid chart and update that. So we got the extra object that we needed called contact facility. And of course, we have the contact and facility already. Okay, so we got contact. Now, what do we need here? And this is where the difference between actual junction object, according to Salesforce doc, is that they need to be master detail. So contact facility will have one-to-many. So this is the one-to-many. So one-to-many relation contact facility will have a one-to-many to contact as well as one-to-many to facility. And this one-to-many is master detail. It should be master detail as per Salesforce documentation. But there are instances where we end up just creating lookup relationship. So contact facility will have two lookup fields, one lookup field to contact and the other lookup field to facility, or they can be master detail. It really depends on what you're trying to do and what are other requirements in terms of the video that I created last time on master detail. If you want these objects to take control of the sharing, and if you want this object to be deleted whenever these two objects are deleted, then yes, you might want to create a master detail. But there are some scenarios where you want to have a lookup relationship. So the same conditions still apply, but then going back here, I'm going to create a master detail in this example. I'm going to say master detail to contact. That's the first one, and there's a documentation on this. Whatever the first one you pick, that becomes the primary master for that. And then there's a secondary master, which we'll see. Contact facilities, see how the child relationship name is contact facilities here. You can rename it if needed. Hit next, and then we need to create one more, save and new, and then we need to create a secondary master relationship that will be to the facility object. So let's go to facility, and the naming convention, definitely our description and facilities, contact facilities, hit save, and this is where you can also relabel this if needed according to your requirement. And I'll show you how it actually looks like on the page layout. Okay, let's go to the same contact, and now we see there's a contact facilities. And if you notice, it took the icon of the contact because contact was the primary master. So now that we have this and we already have a facility record, I'm going to create a separate facility record as well, I'm going to say downtown facility. Hit save, Okay, so now we have a downtown facility and we have Pratima Test as our doctor. All right, so let's go back to so now what we want to do from our example, we want to show that Pratima Test works in downtown hospital. So we go to Pratima Test and add new. We can say Pratima downtown. And if it was auto number, this would auto populate and we wouldn't need to rhyme that. In some cases, it is necessary to have a name. It really depends on what your use case is. And then downtown. So now we have contact and facility related. Okay. So we can see we have Pratima Test and the downtown associated. Now let's go to what if there's another doctor who works in the same downtown facility. So let's say our contact this time, Ted. So what if Ted also works in downtown? Well, that is easy in this case because we can just add here facility Ted downtown and associated with the same downtown again. So we have now associated two contacts to the same downtown. Hit save. And then how do we know what are the different doctors working in downtown? Well, what to do is go to that actual facility, downtown, and here we should see two contact facilities. So, and in the related list, you can actually add that relationship field. So if we add that contact field here, then we can see, okay, Pratima works in downtown and Ted works in downtown. So try the reverse as well. So what if Pratima Test actually works in two different facilities? So I created another facility called Midtown. So Pratima actually works in downtown as well as Midtown. So to do that, all we need to do is go to contact, go to Pratima Test, that's our doctor, and we are just going to add another contact facility, just like how we added downtown. So here we can say Pratima Midtown, or whatever naming convention you can say, Pratima at Midtown. So Pratima Midtown, and here instead of picking facility downtown, we'll pick Midtown this time. So pick Midtown, and that is our two contact facilities, and obviously I can add other fields here on the related list to see more information. Now if I go to Midtown facility, I can see that, and I can see all the different doctors that work here, Pratima being one of them. So we have successfully established that the facility and contact are in fact many-to-many relationship now because of this contact facilities junction object that we created. All junction object really means is that anytime you see that there is a use case or a need for two objects to be associated to each other in a many-to-many fashion, then junction object really means it's a separate object with a lookup to those two objects. So when I say with a lookup, that means it is a child of both of those objects, and you can either create a lookup relationship or a master detail relationship depending on other requirements that you have. Salesforce also comes with standard junction objects. One really good example is actually opportunity line item. So opportunity product or opportunity line item API name is actually a junction between product and opportunity. So if you look at here, we have a lookup to opportunity and a lookup to product. That means anytime you're adding a line item to an opportunity, it's actually looking up to the product. So that's how they are actually related. Another example is also contact role, which is a lookup from our opportunity contact role, which is the lookup from or a junction between opportunity and contact. So you can associate multiple contacts to multiple opportunities. Opportunity and contact don't have a parent-child relationship. They have a many-to-many relationship by using this opportunity contact role object. And there are many more junction objects that comes out of the box, and most of them are actually lookup or many-to-many. And a lot of times we want to create master data, so it really depends. I hope that was helpful and you are able to understand better what junction objects and many-to-many relationships are. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help.